My name is Jo Clark and I'm actually a forensic psychologist by training, and I spent most of my career working in prisons, and most of those prisons were of the high security variety. Now when we set up Petros, one of the things we wanted to think about is how do we brand what we do. Our strapline is resilience for life, and that really is referring to resilience from childhood through to adulthood, resilience in every context that we find ourselves. My business advisor was saying, how would you want this presented in a name for the company? And I said, well, somehow to encapsulate the fact that we can be other people's rocks by being resilient ourselves. We looked up words for rock, and the Greek word for that is Petros, and hence Petros was born. Resilience in engineering is measured at the point at which a material is put under extreme pressure, so it might be heat pressure or air pressure, and the material starts losing its shape. And its resilience is measured at the point it will lose its shape but reform to its original shape once the pressure's been removed. And when you think about that in the context of people, what a brilliant word. What we discovered when these weebles turned up is that they've got magnets in their head, and the idea is that you put them on your desk or your dressing table and you can maybe place your paper clips or your bobby pins on the top of their heads. It isn't that great, they're just there as a little gimmick. However, what we discovered is something very funny, is that when their head is full of paper clips and bobby pins, they wobble and they don't get back up again. And there could not be a better metaphor for what resilience is about. How do you keep your head clear of bobby pins?
I used to just worry about everything, and I don't worry about anything now. I even picture on people's foreheads the word win, and it keeps me in the focus.
The acronym WIN. What's important now? It's about giving your attention to what is necessary this moment.
And I do have friends who have had really bad anxiety and fears and stresses, and it's quite nice that I feel that I do have the expertise through mum to help them with that, because you want your friends to prosper and thrive.
Third biggest killer in the UK is cortisol, and cortisol is produced when we get stressed. Cortisol is produced by a particular way of thinking. Think about the events and think about a shorter life. We can't control events that happen to us. We can control what goes on in here. And we also understand, obviously, from the physiology that when our heart rate goes up, it goes up because we're producing adrenaline. So then we can talk through the acts of adrenaline, the purpose of adrenaline, which of course is always present and very important when there's a demand to perform. Problematic when it's produced to excess, which it is when we start ruminating, which we define as preoccupation with emotional upset, which is essentially what stress is. When we're ruminating, produce cortisol, absolutely essential hormone to our survival, but toxic when we are producing it in excess and we don't need it. And that has the effect of suppressing our immune response, which is how we recognise the link between stress and ill health.
It's really validated what I think I've known for quite a long time, but not really been able to articulate as clearly. And that is particularly around the factors that support resilience and those aspects of our habits that make us more vulnerable to stress.
Why is it that some people just seem to sail through life and nothing seems to trip them up, whereas for others, the car won't start one morning and it feels like the sky's going to fall in?
So she came in and did a talk about resilience and the importance of when you're looking after somebody. It's so important to look after you as the carer, because often that goes out the window, and then that's when, if you're poorly, you can't support the person. So she came and led this amazing workshop on resilience and how to look after oneself. Went down fantastically.
Resilience is about the entirety of the person. It's not just about the job, it's not just about being a mum or being a partner to somebody, it's about all of us.
We just saw it have such an impact on the people that went through the programme, because a lot of them had really senior jobs. These might be directors of companies, managing directors of companies, senior leaders and managers, with all those pressures of life.
It's an absolute delight delivering this training, because you'll sit with a room of people, and the lovely thing is no one has to tell you anything, because it all happens in people's heads as they process what you're telling them. The programme itself and the way it's written is actually based on quite deep philosophy, but we don't go into the philosophy on the training because it is dead practical. The thing about Petros and the way that we work is it is a very clear philosophy. I am very, very keen to get the message out much, much further. I love training small groups of people, I love working in organisations, but what you come across is suffering. people really suffering from stress and anxiety and depression. And it's fantastic if in a group of 15 you can touch the lives probably actually of half or more. I think there's sometimes more, but wouldn't it be lovely to get that out to hundreds, thousands, even millions?